There is probably no course that has its first tee so near the station. We tee up within the shortest possible stone's throw from the platform and drive over a waste of sand and stone that is still fairly formidable. Aberdovey stands in the mouth of the Dovey estuary. The links are on a long, narrow strip of turf stretching between sandhills and the shore on one side and a range of hills on the other. The sandhills are many and imposing. We have to play with something more than ordinary accuracy between a never-ending range of hills on the right and thick and yielding clumps of rushes on the left.
Pulling into Aberdovey, what a place, what a great sort of little holiday resort it is. Beautiful coloured cottages everywhere, just lovely. So for anyone who doesn't know a huge amount about Aberdovey, Darwin is like very, very central to the story. It was like a really significant place for him. So whilst he lived out his days in Rye, which was another special place, I know he wrote extensively about a lot of golf courses, but Aberdovey was a place of real meaning for him. And the stuff that you find there is brilliant. Like, you remember when he showed us the newspaper clippings from the Times, and you've got probably about 2,000 words dedicated to the Children's Championship played that day at Aberdovey. Meanwhile, the US Amateur in 1929 receives nothing more than about 2 or 3 sentences written by Darwin. Yeah. It's mental. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah, the Children's Championship. 2 columns in the Times.
Dedicated to how old were the kids? About 12?
Up to 12.
Right.
Followed by the US Amateur.
So it's 10-1 column inches basically for the Children's Championship at Aberdovey.
Yes.
And then this is in 1929.
Yeah.
Willing beat Tolley.
Yeah.
4-3. We Met beat Little by 1 hole. Just barely gets a mention. I mean, it's literally just...
Yeah, the great and good of...
George Von Elm, Bobby Jones.
Yeah, he first came probably, I think his mother married, obviously a Darwin. His mother was a Rook of the Rook family. 2 brothers were major generals or something in the army. Had a house in Machynlleth. And he used to come as a teenager and carried on. Obviously developed as a good golfer and carried on from there. So he sort of loved here, the original course, which was on a much narrower strip of land than we've got now. And then he saw lots and lots of changes that happened as he went along.
So he'd have played here over what, like a stretch of...
Yeah, probably
40, 50 years at least,
yes,
really.
That's right.
You know, I sit there and think, God, I'd love to go back in time and watch Darwin get off the train there.
Yeah,
in the golden days.
Wander down with his clubs.
Cantankerous bloke by all accounts, actually.
Yeah, and
which was interesting.
And he was a president at Aberdovey.
Yes, yeah.
So this isn't just like, oh yeah, Darwin liked it. No, he's seriously integral to Aberdovey as a place.
100%. Now, a little before Darwin's time, there was a character called Colonel Ruck, he was sort of like the first person to get golf going down there. I think he'd played a few holes at Formby, obviously got quite taken with the idea, and then went and got 9 flower pots from a local girl and put them in the links and started playing to them, and that's how it all started.
Aberdovey was the place where the Welsh Golfing Union was set up, and they founded the course. Now I don't really going to get these dates wrong, but I think it's something along the lines of founded the club in 1892 and they started playing 1896.
I think you might be right there. I haven't got those stats to hand.
I think there was something between either 1895 1896 is when the course opened for play. It was a long time to have a club without a course, but the Welsh Golfing Union was established at Aberdovey. So again, this is now across the estuary from Borth, who apparently had the first knock of a golf ball. So, you know, the history is pretty rife.
And like you were saying with Harlech as well, the dunes, sorry to jump in, but the dunes, in the same way that the land is quite dynamic at Harlech, it's very dynamic at Aberdovey. And I think that's why it's moved around quite a bit, because you've obviously got the early golf that was played there. I think he was talking about golf being played much further inland in the early days. You've got a primitive layout. You've got Fowler was like, that he's probably a core contributor to the course that you play today, Fowler, in terms of his input. Braid was also involved, as was Colt. I think Colt undid some Braid stuff. You've got Ian Woosnam that's working there now with DJ Russell, putting in Darwin tees, lengthening it. I mean, the stretch in against the prevailing breeze is not to be underestimated. It's a serious challenge of golf. But I'd say the real, for me, the real magic part of it is where you hit that little sort of shoulder of the land. So you play a couple of holes in one direction and probably turn 20 or 30 degrees to play a bit further up the coast. And that little awkward corner is almost like creased in with more dunes. And you've got holes like the 16th, which are just sensational.
Yeah. The whole course doglegs around to the right. It follows the bend in the land, which almost changes the direction of the wind every hole as you kind of progress around this dogleg of the land. And then as you get to, I think 7th green is probably the furthest part of the course.
Yeah.
You come back a little bit, go back out again, and then a majestic par 3. Now, there aren't many tremendous uphill par 3s on the planet.
No.
To all intents and purposes, if you want to really destroy a par 3, play it uphill. But this par 3, it's about 100, I think we played at about 150. It's
into a stiff breeze.
25 feet elevated in a big volcano green that all drops down in front of you. It drops down to the left of you. It behind is dunes, so you've lost your ball, and the right is nothing but ocean, nothing but the Irish Sea. So it's just and the wind was howling. For us, it was like into and slightly out of the right. And I think I took a 6-iron into that, up that hill.
Hammered it, absolutely hammered it as well.
And it was hammered. And it was majestic little par 3. And then you play a fairly brutal stretch of long 4s and long 5s coming in. And 16 is probably the standout hole on the golf course, ostensibly a drivable par 4, but I mean, whether you go for it, back on the road side of the golf course, it's a figure of 8. I mean, I don't know whether Colt was taking his inspiration from dear old Muirfield, but the whole course figures of 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are on the dunes, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kind of back on the road side, and then sort of up to about 15 is on the dunes, and you cross 16, 17, 18 back on the road side. So yeah, it's a wonderful golf course. I wasn't prepared to cross the railway, because the car park's on the other side of the railway line. You had to cross by foot to get to the course, and then the pro shop's on your left, the clubhouse is on your right, and as you sort of appear out, the course was in great condition. You can see it with your eyes. It's like that shiny grass. The dunes are massive. Dunes are like framing the golf course around, and I just wasn't prepared to see it.
It was excellent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I quite like the subtlety of it as well. I think Clyde talked about it on the podcast about the reversible 18 at the old course. You realise that the old course does have directional change, it's just more subtle.
Yeah.
So you're not triangulated, but you're just moving 10 degrees at a time. So that brings in a bit of variety with the wind. I thought the closing stretch is really tough. Like that puts you under it's a proper examination of ball striking. It stands up as a good test of golf.